Right. And as you speak to that and build to that point, just because you really agreed with what she brought up, the TikTok export from China is harmful, or at least isn't being consumed back home. And
yes, because in fact, it's something called child appropriate design for platforms. Like if you look at how, just the way she said, some of the content that you're finding on TikTok here, and being exposed especially to minors, because the truth is, you know, like they cannot ignore the fact that kids, like all platforms cannot ignore the fact that kids
have access.
Can access them. And there's been a bit of controversy, especially around the idea of YouTube releasing an app for kids. I'm sure you know now, YouTube Kids, right? It's incredibly popular because it's supposed to address some of those concerns, right? It's just that, again, there's not enough scrutiny around what exactly are they designing for kids, right? But that's where some of those concerns come from. Instagram tried to do the same, but then there was an outcry and then they stopped. So even in the same comes for TikTok. For a child, I think if I'm not wrong, I probably can fact check me on this, but for a child to be able to join TikTok in China, for example, there has to be an age verification that is carried out, 1. 2, upon age verification, there's a certain type of content, of course, already that gets filtered out, right? For them to be able to identify what kind of content to serve to this person that is appropriate for the person of this age. 2. 3, there's even a time limit. Okay? There's even a time limit. Because remember, how many people in this room, perhaps I can ask the guys in the studio, have you ever deleted Instagram from your phone because you felt like you're using it too much? Exactly. That's a problem.
We have 3 hands.
You know, that's a serious problem.
Amongst 4. Yeah.
Like it's a very serious problem. So even in there was a time you'd use Facebook and it would end.
Yeah.
You know, you'd scroll, then
you're
all caught up, right? For the day, and you leave.
Yeah.
Right? But now imagine if someone just gave you an infinite cigarette to smoke. Okay? So even in China, for example, there are time limits. Right? On digital technologies, they put time limits on gaming.
Yeah.
And there are time limits even on TikTok usage,
right.
If I'm not wrong. I think that's one of the things, because they actually had a whole moment about this.
Right. The time that's being used on these.
And they were like, we actually need to get, I know people question their motives, but in terms of safety, like that's a concern. You shouldn't be on TikTok for 3 hours.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's not good for you.
Even for Ruto's economy.
Yeah. It's not good for you.
Got you. So let's speak now as we wrap up and make our last comments on this issue and speak beyond just TikTok, but use TikTok as an example. Since now we're talking about it, it's in Parliament, it's been brought in a form of petition. You want to ask, and it could be to the legislator, or at least who you feel should take up the control of this conversation, and what should be their priority.
Whoa, I don't think I have one audience in mind. I have several.
Yeah.
And, you know, earlier on you were talking about, you know, sort of like the sense of overwhelm, you know, the regulators are going through. And I'm like, I really don't buy that. Because Kenya is also where all these big platforms are coming to recruit some of the smartest IT, you know, gurus. Look at this guy. He works for all the big multinationals, you know, and does research. We've got lots of good data scientists. So I think we should start with, you know, there's a whole economy, It's not all bad. So where there's a challenge, there's also an opportunity.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity to actually utilize the capability we have. We have brilliant Kenyans who are really, really well educated, you know, in data and technology, and can develop code. So I think we need government and development actors to really take advantage of the resources that we have locally to come up with some of the solutions. And of course to Parliament, they really need to stop joking. We are going to be watching to see how this conversation evolves, because we really need them. You know, we've just gone through a cycle of 2 years in courts with Facebook. Then we have now TikTok coming. You know, someone's not doing their job properly, because, you know, we need to be learning incrementally and improving things as we go on. So can we see, you know, some effort to do a proper audit on the policy gaps that we've got. Can we see, you know, a little bit of more intentional consultations with platform owners? We've had lots of reports. There was a report on fake news. There was a report recently there was a report on these yoni things, you know, that are being sold and then endangering women's lives. You know, so the platforms keep, you know, just addressing the one little thing that you complain about, and then they keep quiet. Then they address the other small thing. Now that you've talked about sexual content, though, I can assure you, TikTok is already working on how to show you that they have, they've tried to do something, but they won't comprehensively fix the problem. So we really need to engage in a meaningful way. We need to empower our regulators to do their job comprehensively. We need to also have consistency within government, not hearing, like, you know, the what's this commission called? The one that regulates hate speech.
NCC and the
National Cohesion and Integration Commission.
So it's NCAC.
You know, we need to see them being backed up, not they come up with one set of rules, then they're contradicted by the implementers, because it's really confusing. We need to actually have, you know, a sense of what's right, what's wrong, and you know, the direction that the country is going. I don't think getting into the, you know, religious arguments is going to take us so far, because our constitution says we are not a religious country. So I think that whole point should be dropped from parliament altogether. Let them look at it with what is constitutionally allowed. And I think we have more than enough.
Well, we introduced a petition with a different case in terms of national security, data protection.
We already have that, and it's not gone far.
All right. For you, is it a question of should TikTok be banned, or should TikTok be regulated stronger?
No, it should just be regulated. Because again, I may believe in free markets, right? So let people do business, right? But you know, it's also been very well known that good business is not necessarily good for society, right? If companies could pollute the ocean, right, and not have to clean up after their messes, and basically destroy, you know, if capitalists could destroy the world, right, they would, so long as they made money for their shareholders. Okay, so we need to be able to make sure that these people can do whatever they need to do, but we need to ask very serious questions about how exactly they go about conducting that business. Are they protecting their users? And how do we make sure that they're actually doing that? Are we making sure that they're not profiting from hate, right? Are we making sure that they're not exploiting minors? They're not exploiting labor, right? And are we making sure that they actually know what they're building? And there's an analogy I like to say that Mark Zuckerberg, when he started Facebook, basically was making an app to try and get himself a girlfriend. I don't know if many people realize that. He did not prepare for it to become the behemoth that it became in the world, and many people followed suit trying to do the same thing. This is where we have the problem with it, because many of these guys, because of a centralization of power, don't realize the kind of investment that it takes for you to be able to actually have a piece of technology that is culturally nuanced within a specific territory. And partly because it's expensive, right? If they're to actually pay moderators well, okay, and take into consideration how the algorithms actually work, right? That's very expensive to do. But in all honesty, the way the world is going and everyone is looking into them, it's something that they must do.
I think I used Facebook for the purpose it was created. That's where I met my wife. Like, that's our first conversation, and then of course followed up.
Soon you'll be a billionaire.
Amen to that. No, I really appreciate the time that you have given us, and this conversation, it shouldn't end here. And of course, it should take a greater scope in terms of what it's addressing, but it shouldn't be banned. I believe that's the consensus we have. It's just stronger regulation towards it. And I think I've taken home the fact that if indeed Kenyans are some of the greatest and strongest users of this platform, we have a voice. And these big tech companies, they will listen when you have sustained pushback and demand for answers and accountability,
Accountability.
and they will actually answer. So if these leaders actually listen to this and understand that from that perspective, and the fact that even though we're in business with China, it would be stupid, as you said, for China to push back directly in defense, because then we would have reason to say, hey, if China is really pushing for this, we should actually ask another question of whether or not we should have it in the first place. So thank you very much for the time that you've given me. Neema, Mutemi, please just put that rose in some water. It'll blossom.
To come back to life.
Odanga, Madung, thank you so much for the time. Well, yeah, at least I gave you tea, so don't be salty about it.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Appreciate your time.
Offended on my behalf only.
By the way, now that you've told us the fact,
Injera whiskey.
That's after the show. The fact that you've given the facts about TikTok, should people stay on TikTok?
I don't know. That's a personal choice.
That's
Like,
a
you
personal
get
You're still on
the
TikTok.
information.
You're still on TikTok.
Well, it's on archive mode, but that's
Me-
more to do with I need to do my work.
Okay.
Exactly.
You're on
Much so.
TikTok.
Me, I'm on TikTok.
Even me, I'm on TikTok. In full Kenyan fashion, I'll say even me, I'm on TikTok. Thank you for
but
watching.
not after 12 p.m.
No,
12
oh,
a.m.
not after 12 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we know. Oh, because we know that between this and this. Okay.
So
Thank you for that. Thank you for watching the Social Newsroom. The conversation continues. We'll be having this uploaded as well as the snippets to that. Tell a friend about this episode and share as well once we put it online. Have a good night.